Just almost Robin Hooded it. Today, we're looking at arrows and are they affected by wind. We're going to test a tack driver, 2.2 inch tack driver, 4 fletch on a Easton Axis long range, a micro diameter. Test a tack driver 2.75 on an Easton Axis long range. This is a 3 fletch. And we're going to test the good old trusty Blazer on a Gold Tip Hunter Extreme. We're going to see if wind affects them. We're going to be using this anemometer. Thanks how you say it, anemometer. It literally tells us the wind speed. So we'll know how fast the wind is moving, and we're going to have a lot of data to kind of compare and see if wind, we've got it down to 5 all the way up to plus 30, affects arrows in flight. And then we can kind of make decisions on our hunting setups and our target setups after that. Stick around. All right, so it is thundering in the background, so hopefully we don't get rained on. That would be bad. 3 arrows at 20 yards into that to get a baseline on how big the group sizes are and how far away from center are we with these arrows. 4 inch tack vanes, so we're going to see how much this wind affects them. But first we're going to get that, like I said, that baseline and just see what kind of group we're looking at and how far off center we are with just no wind. I've got it in between my shop, so we shouldn't have any effect from the wind other than our own. So wind gusts shouldn't affect us or anything like that. A little off on a couple, but good starting point. I mean, we're basically at 0, and so we've got a good baseline group. Four and a half inches is our group. So in all fairness, I did have a bad shot, an error, human error. One of those punchy shots that you know is wrong and bad. You know when it leaves it's bad. So I'm going to reshoot it. So if you're watching this going, well, what about human error? Well, this is human error. I'm reshooting it because I knew it was bad. I knew it was off. Been at 6 and 5.8 and upper 5s, lower 6s. Not much change at all. One of them's dead center. The other one just slightly off to the right. Again, I did have a human error and shot one somewhere up in here, that one or that one. Pulled it, reshot it, and hit here. Maybe slightly to the left, but cat. That's a pretty dang good group right there. At an over 9-mile-per-hour wind. That one's just a slightly over an inch. Call it an inch, 5.5. So about the same as the 5-mile-per-hour wind as far as group goes. This time we're using a 3 fletch, 2.75 tack driver vane. Still the biter knock, still the Easton Axis long range arrows. Just a That's pretty impressive though for a group. 1 inch and slight. I don't know if it's the tack vanes that are so impressive or it's the micro diameter Easton Axis arrows, but 10-mile-per-hour wind, 9-10-mile-per-hour wind had no effect on these arrows. We're shooting Blazers, 3 fletch Blazers on a Gold Tip Hunter XT, probably one of the most popular arrows out there just because you can find them in every store. Yep, there's the rain. Time to go. And the lightning. Is let up. It's time to go again. Let's go check them out. Aiming at the orange, these arrows aren't sighted in for this bow. Try to find the center point of that group and try to call it that, because the group's just a touch over 6 inches, so pretty good group. All right, so here's the plan. We're going to crank it up. We've got the leaf blower here, the Makita leaf blower. At about second speed, it hits about 15, 14, 15 miles per hour. At full speed, it'll hit 20 plus, maybe 23 miles per hour. So we're going to run through them again at 15, and then we're going to run through them again at the 20 plus and see what we get. We'll start off with the Blazers. Can't catch a break on the rain. Alright, it's the next day and the rain has stopped, at least for a moment. We're going to continue. We're on the 3 Fletch tack driver vanes. These are the 2.75, so these are pretty big ones. Shocker, it started raining as soon as I got everything set up, and the speeds got up to 18, 19 miles per hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go stand in the rain and shoot, and I'm going to keep this camera in here under the dry. So the show will go on, I will just get wet in the process. With a 20 mile per hour wind, that's a pretty good group at 20 yards with a 20 mile per hour wind. 5 inches, 5-inch group. In reality, I think if you thought I'm going to shoot through a 20 mile per hour wind here, and it is right through it. I mean, you look at where that wind is blowing at this angle. If you get down here at eye level with it, that orange dot is right in it. It's a pretty substantial wind gust without much effect on the arrows. Next up, 20 mile per hour wind. These are my hunting setup. These are a 2-inch tack driver vane, 4 fletched. Even punching one, 6 inches. That one's. All right, so we've got. I think we got one more level on this blower, and I think we'll get 25, maybe up to 27. Which is the max we're going to test for this. We've done like low wind, we've done up to, hopefully we can get up to 25 plus winds. There hasn't been much difference. So I'm going to shoot all of these, all 9 arrows that we're kind of testing. The Blazer 3 Fletch, the big tack driver 2.75 3 Fletch, and then the smaller tack driver 4 Fletch. So we're going to test all of these in just one big group. Yeah, so I'm going to say this kind of settles it once and for all. That's a 30 mile per hour wind. That's not going in very far. This one might have actually been the one I heard ricochet. It kind of sounded like one hit another one. Yeah, there it is. So that's why it's kicked. That was a very expensive shot, because that is a lighted knock. So that's why this one's kicked out. But I mean, you can tell it was just going to be right there. So you could wrap your hand around all of these. These other two were just right above it. And again, I don't shoot these. I shot them years ago. I don't shoot them anymore. So. All right, so sum this up. I don't think wind plays much of an effect on your arrows. I don't think wind plays much of an effect on your arrows. I think looking at the data, our baseline, meaning no wind, was for a group was 4.5 inches. The distance from center, meaning the middle of the orange dot, to the outermost arrow of that group was 0, 1, and 1. And if you look down, all of the distance from centers were about 1 inch. The most we ever saw was 1.75, and I punched it, and I just didn't want to reshoot it because I could already see this pattern developing. At 30 miles per hour, you would expect to see some movement of those arrows, albeit from the fletchings getting wind or the shaft themselves getting wind. You might argue that the groups of the blazers, which were on a standard gold tip, the larger diameter, they were bigger groups as opposed to the micro diameters. They weren't as big a groups, but not by much. I mean, you're talking about the blazers at low speed were 6.25. The blazers at, the blazers at low speed were 6.25. The blazers at 20 miles per hour were 7.5. The blazers at 30 miles per hour Robin Hooded each other. Here's what I think, and I think most everybody, when you really think about it, would agree. Your bad groups from wind are not because the size of your fletchings or the size of your arrow. They're because the wind is pushing your bow. That crosswind is catching your bow, it's pushing you left and right, so then your arrow hits left of what you're aiming for down range, and you know, your first thought is, oh, it's windy, my arrow got moved in the process. I don't think so. I don't think the data supports that. Now, if you're shooting crazy long distances like field archery, maybe you're shooting 7,500 yards, you might have some argument for that. It'd be kind of hard to simulate that in a test where you're testing consistent wind at 75 yards. Even this, I wish I had 50 of these leaf blowers lined up so we could see the arrow flying through the entire wind tunnel. I just don't, but I can tell you at the point of impact, at a very high speed, at very close, they didn't change them. It didn't affect them much at all. Point, if it's going to be windy, you might want to add some extra weight on your back bars or your front bars. Get a little extra weight on that bow, or you're just going to have to really focus on keeping it steady. Hopefully you've practiced that, because the data does not show much, if any, if at all, zero effect on arrows from wind, at least up to 30, a little over 30 miles per hour. Appreciate it. Appreciate you watching. If you like this, subscribe, like, let me know in the comments. You agree, disagree, how you would want to change the test. Again, let's be realistic. I mean, I wish we had unlimited funds and we could just, you saw how white trash this was. That's how we roll. So, give me some other things you might want to see tested. It's this summertime, I love to get out and shoot and get my mind right for archery coming up. So give me some ideas, some tips. Appreciate you. Have a good one.